Get your dirty hands off that seat. Jessica Morrison's voice cut like a blade. She yanked Robert Hayes backward by his collar. I'm sorry, ma'am. This is my seat. Your seat? She laughed in his face. Look at you, smell you. This is business class. For real people, not trash. I paid for this ticket, ma'am. Liar. She snatched his wallet, threw it down the aisle. Probably stole it like everything else your kind steals. Robert bent to retrieve it. His hands shook. She grabbed his face. Her palm exploded across his mouth. Blood sprayed. His glasses shattered on the floor. Robert stood there, silent. His cheek burned red. He was 72 years old, a retired postal worker. 3 rows ahead, a man in a Tom Ford suit stood abruptly, his jaw clenched tight. What happened next on Flight 447 would destroy more than one career. Robert Hayes didn't fight back. He simply stood there, blood dripping from his split lip. His hand pressed against the red marks on his cheek where her nails had dug in. He was a retired postal worker, 72 years old. He'd worn his best navy blazer today, the one Margaret had bought him for their 40th anniversary, 5 years ago, before cancer took her. In his shirt pocket, folded carefully, was a photo. Margaret smiling at their kitchen table, her reading glasses perched on her nose. That was 2 months before the diagnosis. Robert had saved $130 every month for half a year. No restaurants, no cable TV. He ate oatmeal for breakfast and sandwiches for dinner. All so he could fly business class once, just once, to see what it felt like. His granddaughter Maya was graduating from Northwestern. Top of her class, pre-med. She was the first in their family to finish college. Robert wanted to arrive feeling dignified, wanted to walk into that ceremony with his head high. Now his shirt was splattered with blood. Jessica Morrison watched him with satisfaction. She smoothed her blonde hair back into place, adjusted her name tag. 8 years she'd worked for Crown Atlantic Airlines. 8 years of dealing with passengers who thought they were special. She knew the rules. She made the rules in her cabin. Behind her, route manager Derek Sullivan approached. He was 41, thick neck, arms crossed. He'd gotten Jessica out of trouble before. 17 complaints in the last 2 years, all mysteriously closed. Everything okay here, Jess? His voice was casual, like this was routine. The passenger became aggressive when I asked for identification, Jessica said smoothly. He grabbed my wrist. I defended myself. A lie, but Derek nodded. He always did. 3 rows ahead in first class, Marcus Hayes sat perfectly still. He wore a charcoal Tom Ford suit, custom tailored, a Patek Philippe Nautilus on his wrist, 45 years old, clean-shaven. His Wall Street Journal lay folded on the tray table. He'd watched everything. When Robert boarded, Marcus had glanced up. Their eyes met for half a second. Marcus looked away immediately, deliberately. He turned back to his newspaper. Other passengers might have wondered why a son wouldn't greet his father. Why would he let an old man struggle with his bag alone? Marcus had his reasons. He pulled out his phone, typed quickly under the tray table where no one could see. Activate protocol, flight 447, document everything. He pressed send. Then he opened his recording app, set the phone on his armrest, camera facing backward. Sarah Carter stood in the galley. She was 32, a junior flight attendant, Korean-American. She'd worked with Jessica for 3 years, 3 long years. She'd seen this before. Different faces, same pattern. Last month, an Indian passenger questioned about his unusual food, made to throw it away. 2 months ago, a Hispanic woman accused of stealing a blanket, the blanket Jessica had handed her. 6 months ago, a black teenager removed for looking suspicious. He'd been reading a physics textbook. Sarah kept a folder on her personal laptop. Jessica Morrison, incidents. 23 documented cases, photos, witness statements, timestamps, every complaint filed, every complaint closed by Derek Sullivan, his signature on every dismissal form. She wanted to speak up now. Her mouth opened. Jessica shot her a look. Sharp. Warning. Sarah's mouth closed. She turned back to the beverage cart. Her hands trembled. Not yet. She needed someone who couldn't be silenced. Someone with power. Crown Atlantic Flight 447 was a Tuesday afternoon departure. Atlanta to Chicago. 2 hours and 15 minutes. Boeing 737. 16 business class seats. Cream leather. Mood lighting. Professional crew of 4. The airport was chaotic. Post-pandemic travel had exploded. Every flight was packed. The staff stretched thin. Complaints up 34% industry-wide. Airlines were hiring anyone with a pulse. Training was cut from 6 weeks to 3. Customer service scores plummeted. But Crown Atlantic had bigger problems. 6 months ago, they settled a discrimination lawsuit. $2.3 million. 3 black passengers removed from a flight to Miami. Suspicious behavior. They'd been lawyers attending a conference. The settlement included mandatory diversity training. Jessica had taken the online module, scored 71%. Passing was 70. She'd clicked through without reading. Finished in 18 minutes. Her personnel file showed the completion certificate. Nothing else. Crown Atlantic's CEO had sent a company-wide memo. Enhanced security protocols. Corporate speak for watch certain passengers more closely. Jessica had interpreted it her way. In the cockpit, Captain Reynolds reviewed the flight plan. 28 years of flying. He was 54. Gray at the temples. 2 daughters in college. He'd heard the commotion in the cabin, heard Jessica's raised voice, but cockpit doors stayed locked now. Post 9/11 protocol. He checked the passenger manifest on his tablet, scrolled through names. His finger stopped. Seat 1A. Marcus Hayes. Captain Reynolds' stomach dropped. He zoomed in, read the name 3 times. Marcus Hayes, CEO of Hayes Global Holdings, the company that had acquired 67% of Crown Atlantic Airlines 6 months ago. The buyout had been quiet, not yet public, but internal leadership knew. Reynolds had attended a briefing. Marcus Hayes' photo projected on the conference room screen. Our new majority shareholder. Treat him with utmost respect. Reynolds touched his intercom. Derek, this is the captain. Can you come to the cockpit? In business class, Derek Sullivan was already calling airport security. His radio crackled. Need passenger removal. Seat 4C, aggressive behavior. Assaulted crew member. The captain's voice interrupted. Derek, before you do anything, I need... Derek cut him off. Handled it, Captain. Just doing my job. He clicked off. 2 airport security officers arrived within minutes. Officer Rodriguez and Officer Carter, both in their 30s. Body cameras recording. Jessica met them at the door. Her eyes were red. Tears. Performed perfectly. He grabbed me when I asked to verify his ticket, she said. Her voice shook. I had to defend myself. I'm afraid he might become violent again. Officer Rodriguez looked at Robert, then at Jessica. The math didn't add up. Robert was small, frail, 72 years old, but Rodriguez had learned not to question the flight crew. They had authority here. FAA regulations. Sir, Rodriguez said to Robert, his tone is apologetic. I need you to gather your belongings and come with us. Robert's eyes glistened. He didn't cry. He'd learned long ago that tears changed nothing. Officers, she struck me first, he said quietly. Multiple witnesses saw it. A passenger in 5B spoke up. That's true. I recorded it. Jessica whirled around. Recording crew is a federal offense. Delete that now. The passenger's thumb hovered over his phone. He looked scared. Derek stepped forward. FAA regulations, folks. All phones down. Now. The passenger lowered his phone, but he didn't delete anything. Marcus Hayes sat motionless in 1A. Every muscle in his body was tight. His father was being humiliated, removed like a criminal. Not yet, he told himself. Let the system show its true face. Let them expose themselves completely. His phone buzzed. A reply to his text. Protocol activated. Legal team standing by. PR monitoring social media. We're ready when you are. Marcus typed back one word. Wait. Robert reached down for his briefcase. It lay under the seats where Jessica had kicked it. He got on his knees. His joints cracked. 72 years of wear. Jessica stood over him, arms crossed. Look at him. On his knees where he belongs. Passengers shifted. Some looked away. Others stared. Robert found his briefcase, pulled it out. The leather was scuffed, worn. Inside was everything that mattered. His wife's Bible, his granddaughter's graduation gift, a gold necklace, $300 in cash. He stood slowly. His knees shook. Officer Rodriguez touched his arm. Gentle. Sir, please come with us. Can I get my boarding pass? Robert asked. It has my confirmation number. Jessica held up the torn pieces. Let them flutter down. Oops! A woman in 3A gasped. That's cruel! Jessica spun toward her. Want to join him? I can arrange that. The woman went silent. Derek Sullivan pulled out his tablet, started typing. Ground crew, prepare banned passenger documentation. Seat 4C. Add him to the no-fly list. Robert's head snapped up. No-fly list? For what? Assault on crew, Derek said. You're banned from Crown Atlantic for life. We share information with other airlines, too. Robert's voice cracked. I've flown for 40 years. Never had a problem. Not once. You have one now, Jessica said. She smiled. Sarah Carter stepped forward from the galley. Her voice shook. That's not what happened. I saw everything. She hit him first. Jessica's smile vanished. Sarah, go check the rear cabin. Now. I'm not lying for you anymore. Derek moved between them. His bulk is intimidating. Sarah, unless you want a write-up, follow orders. Sarah looked at Robert, then at the passengers. No one else spoke. Fear was powerful. She stepped back, but she pulled out her phone. Jessica saw it. Derek, she's recording. Take that phone. Give it here, Sarah, Derek said. This is my personal property. On company time, in company uniform. Hand it over or you're suspended. Sarah's hand trembled. 3 years of evidence on this phone. But she had backups. Cloud storage. She surrendered it. Derek powered it off, slipped it in his pocket. You'll get this back later. Maybe. Robert was led down the aisle now. Officer Rodriguez on one side, Officer Carter on the other. He walked with his head up. Briefcase clutched to his chest. Passengers whispered as he passed. Some said, "I'm sorry," under their breath. Others looked ashamed. A few were typing on phones, social media posts starting. A child in 6C asked loudly, "Mommy, why are they taking that nice man?" Shh, baby. Don't look. But the child kept looking. When Robert reached row 1, he passed Marcus. Their eyes met briefly. Marcus's face was stone, the slightest shake of his head. Not yet, Dad. Robert understood. He kept walking. At the door, Captain Reynolds emerged from the cockpit. He saw Robert being escorted off, saw the blood on his collar. Derek, what's going on? Handled, Captain. Aggressive passengers removed per protocol. Reynolds looked past Derek, saw Jessica, saw the passengers staring. Then he glanced into first class, saw Marcus Hayes. The captain's face went pale. Mr. Hayes, Reynolds said. His voice was tight. I didn't realize you were on this flight. Marcus held up one finger, said nothing. His eyes were ice. Reynolds retreated to the cockpit. His hands shook. Jessica noticed the exchange. Who's that? Nobody, Derek said. Just another passenger. Robert Hayes stepped off Flight 447 into the jetway. The door sealed behind him. Inside, Jessica exhaled, smiled. Another problem solved. 8 years. No real consequences ever. Derek patted her shoulder. Nice work. Grab a coffee. In the galley, Sarah Carter cried quietly. She'd failed Robert, failed herself. Then her backup phone buzzed in her locker, the one Derek didn't know about. A text from an unknown number. I saw everything. Keep your evidence safe. Justice is coming. M.H. Sarah's breath caught. M.H. Marcus Hayes. She wiped her tears, stood straighter. In first class, Marcus opened his laptop, pulled up Crown Atlantic's internal server. His credentials gave him access to everything. Jessica Morrison's personnel file, 23 complaints, all closed, all signed by Derek Sullivan. His brother Michael worked in HR, both protecting each other. Marcus forwarded everything to his legal team, his PR team, his attorney. Then he typed one message. Prepare a full company audit. Reopen every discrimination complaint. He pressed send. The engines started. Cabin lights dimmed for departure. Jessica walked past first class, triumphant. Didn't even glance at Marcus. She had no idea her career had just ended. 3 passengers had already uploaded videos to Twitter. #forming. #flight 447. One caption. Elderly black man assaulted by flight attendant for sitting in business class. 8 minutes online. 12,000 views. Comments flooding in. This is 2025? Sue them all. Who is this man? The plane began to push back from the gate. Jessica poured herself coffee, checked her lipstick in the galley mirror. Perfect. The aircraft door was sealed. The jetway had pulled away. Flight 447 was taxiing toward the runway. There was no turning back now. Jessica Morrison moved through the cabin with confidence. She checked the overhead bins, smiled at passengers in first class. Professional. Polished. Like nothing had happened. Derek Sullivan stood near the cockpit, his tablet open. He was typing the incident report, his version, the only version that would matter. Passenger in 4C became verbally aggressive when asked for identification. Made physical contact with senior flight attendant Morrison. Passenger removed for safety of crew and other passengers. Recommend permanent ban from all Crown Atlantic flights. He attached photos. Jessica's wrist. Red marks. Self-inflicted 30 seconds ago in the galley. No one had seen her do it. He pressed submit. The report went to Crown Atlantic's security division. To HR. To legal. Within the system, it would be processed, filed, and forgotten. Just like the 23 before it. In seat 12B, Amanda Richardson clutched her phone. She was 28, a journalist for the Atlanta Chronicle. She'd recorded everything. The slap, the blood, Robert's dignity. Her video was already uploaded, unlisted on YouTube. Link sent to her editor with a text. Breaking story. Elderly man assaulted on Crown Atlantic flight. Need legal review before we publish. Her editor replied immediately, Holy shit, get more footage. Interview witnesses when you land. This is the front page. Amanda looked around the cabin. Other passengers were typing furiously. Some were on calls, whispering urgently. The story was spreading. Uncontrolled. Viral. She opened Twitter. Searched #flight 447. Her stomach dropped. 4 videos already posted. Different angles. The slap captured perfectly in all of them. Jessica's face is clear. Her name tag is visible. Her words are audible. This seat is not for your kind. Crawl for it. I don't care about your dead wife. The tweets were exploding. Retweets in the hundreds already. Comments filled with rage. This is horrific. Fire her immediately. I'm never flying Crown Atlantic again. Someone find out who that elderly man is. One account had freeze-framed Robert's face, posted it with, "Does anyone know this man? He deserves justice." Amanda's hands shook. This was bigger than a local news story. This was national, maybe international. In first class, Marcus Hayes scrolled through the same hashtag. His face remained neutral, but his jaw was tight. His phone buzzed, his head of PR. "Sir, we have a situation. Flight 447 is trending. Multiple videos of an assault. The victim appears to be an elderly black passenger. Crown Atlantic crew involved. This is going to explode. Do we have a statement ready?" Marcus typed back, "No statement yet. Monitor closely. Prepare a crisis response team. I'll advise you in 30 minutes. Another text came in, his chief legal officer. "Marcus, I've reviewed the videos. Clear assault, potential hate crime. If Crown Atlantic doesn't act immediately, we're looking at massive liability. Federal investigation likely. Stock will tank." Marcus knew all of this. He'd known it the moment Jessica's hand struck his father's face. He typed a response. "Compile everything. Every complaint against this employee. Every similar incident in the past 2 years. I want names, dates, witnesses. Have it ready when we land." His lawyer replied, "Already on it. This is bad, Marcus. Really bad." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Yes, it was bad. For Jessica, for Derek, for everyone who'd enabled this system. But it was necessary. Sarah Carter sat in the jump seat near the rear galley. Her backup phone was hidden in her hand. She was texting her sister. "They took my work phone, but I have everything backed up. 3 years of documentation. Jessica has done this 23 times, all to passengers of color, all complaints closed by the same manager. His brother works in HR. They protect each other." Her sister replied, "Sarah, you need to go public. Now, before they bury this too." Sarah's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She'd been scared for so long, scared of losing her job, her income, her work visa status. But Robert Hayes's face kept appearing in her mind, the dignity, the quiet strength, even as they dragged him off. She opened her cloud storage, downloaded her entire Jessica Morrison incidents folder. 23 cases, photos, audio recordings, witness statements, emails showing complaints filed and mysteriously closed. She attached it all to an email, addressed it to Crown Atlantic's board of directors, every single member. Their email addresses weren't public, but Sarah had access to internal directories. Subject line, "Pattern of racial discrimination, Flight Attendant Jessica Morrison, urgent review required." Her finger hovered over send. Not yet. Wait until landing. Wait until she was off company property. They couldn't fire her if she was already home. She saved it as a draft. Jessica appeared in the galley, poured herself more coffee, saw Sarah sitting there. "You okay, Sarah?" Her voice was syrupy. False concern. "I'm fine." "Good. Because I'd hate for you to do something stupid, like talking to passengers about what happened, or posting on social media. That would be a terminable offense." "I understand." "Do you? Because I've gotten people fired before. It's easier than you think." Jessica sipped her coffee. "You're on a work visa, right? From Korea?" Sarah's blood went cold. "Yes. Shame if you lost your job. You'd have to leave the country. Go back to Seoul. All those student loans. No way to pay them." Jessica smiled. "Just something to think about." She walked away. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. That was a threat. Direct, clear, and probably illegal. She added it to her mental list. In row 8C, Marcus Carter, no relation to Sarah, was on a call with his wife. He'd recorded the incident too. He was a civil rights attorney, worked for the ACLU. "Honey, I'm telling you, this is the clearest case of discrimination I've seen in years. Assault, false accusations, abuse of authority, and at least 10 witnesses. His wife's voice crackled through his earbuds. Did you get his name? The victim? No. They removed him before I could speak to him. But I have a video, clear audio. The flight attendant's name tag is visible. Jessica Morrison. Send it to the office. We need to find this man. Offer representation. Already done? I also sent it to 3 journalists I know. This needs to be everywhere. Another passenger, David Park in 7A, was a software engineer. He downloaded all 4 videos from Twitter, ran them through enhancement software on his laptop, cleaned up the audio, sharpened the image quality, isolated Jessica's face for facial recognition. He uploaded the enhanced versions, tagged major news outlets, CNN, MSNBC, The New York Times, The Washington Post. Elderly black man assaulted on at Crown Atlantic Flight 447. Crew member Jessica Morrison. Multiple witnesses. Video evidence attached. This is unacceptable in 2025. His tweet got picked up immediately. Verified accounts started retweeting. A CNN producer responded, "Can we use this footage? Do you have contact info?" David replied, "Yes, footage is public. I'm a passenger on the flight. Happy to provide a statement upon landing." The momentum was building. Unstoppable now. In the cockpit, Captain Reynolds saw the alerts coming through on his tablet. Company notifications. Emergency messages from Crown Atlantic headquarters. Flight 447. Incident report required immediately. Flight 447. Media inquiries. Do not respond. Flight 447. Legal team on standby. His co-pilot, First Officer Kim, looked over. "What's going on?" "We have a PR nightmare," Reynolds said. "That passenger removal. It's all over social media." "The old guy? What happened?" "Jessica Morrison happened." Kim whistled low. "Again? How many times is this now?" "Too many." Reynolds rubbed his face. "And we have Marcus Hayes in first class." "Who's that?" "Our new majority shareholder, CEO of Hayes Global Holdings." Kim's eyes went wide. "Oh, shit." "Yeah, oh, shit." Reynolds pulled up the passenger manifest again, looked at seat 4C, the removed passenger. Robert Hayes, then looked at seat 1A. Marcus Hayes, same last name. Reynolds' stomach dropped. No. He scrolled through Robert's booking details. Emergency contact listed, Marcus Hayes. Relationship, son. "Oh my God," Reynolds whispered. "What?" "The passenger Jessica assaulted. That's Marcus Hayes' father." The color drained from Kim's face. "She assaulted the CEO's father?" "She doesn't know. Nobody told her." "Shouldn't we?" "No." Reynolds' hands shook. "We're staying in this cockpit. We're landing this plane. And then we're letting this play out however it's going to play out." "But that woman destroyed her career. She destroyed Derek's career. She probably destroyed mine too. And there's nothing we can do about it now." The plane climbed to cruising altitude, 35,000 feet. The seatbelt sign dinged off. Jessica walked through the cabin, offered drinks, smiled at passengers. Some accepted. Others turned away, wouldn't even look at her. She noticed. "Is there a problem?" she asked a woman in 5C. The woman stared at her phone. "No problem." Jessica looked closer, saw her own face on the screen. A video. The slap playing on loop. Her smile faltered. "Where did you get that?" "It's everywhere," the woman said quietly. "You're trending." Jessica's heart started to race. She moved to the next row, another passenger watching a video, the same video, row after row. Everyone was watching. Her hands started to shake. She retreated to the galley, pulled out her own phone, searched for her name, Jessica Morrison. Autocomplete suggested, Jessica Morrison, Crown Atlantic. Jessica Morrison, assault. Jessica Morrison, racist. She clicked the first result. Her face filled the screen. The video from 20 minutes ago already had 200,000 views. The comments were brutal. Fire her. Arrest her. She belongs in prison. This is what systematic racism looks like. Jessica's knees went weak. This couldn't be happening. She'd done her job. She'd followed protocol. She'd defended herself. But the video didn't lie. It showed everything. Her words, her actions, the blood. Derek appeared beside her. Jessica, we have a problem. The plane leveled at cruising altitude. The cabin lights brightened. Jessica stood in the galley staring at her phone. Her face had gone pale. The videos kept multiplying. Every refresh brought new posts, new angles, new hashtags. Flight 47. Justice for. Hayes and hash fire. Jessica Morrison hashtag boycott Crown. Atlantic. Derek Sullivan grabbed her arm, pulled her deeper into the galley where passengers couldn't see. Put that away, he hissed. Don't look at social media. Don't respond to anything. Derek, it's everywhere. My name, my face, they're calling me a racist. Let it blow over. These things always do. By tomorrow, something else will be trending. But Derek's own hands were shaking. His phone kept buzzing. Messages from his brother Michael in HR. Derek, what the hell happened on your flight? Legal is asking questions. The board is freaking out. Call me now! Derek silenced his phone, shoved it in his pocket. Jessica grabbed his sleeve. What do we do? Nothing. We land. We file our reports. We go home. This will disappear. But his voice lacked conviction. The intercom clicked on. Captain Reynolds' voice filled the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, we're at our cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. Flight time to Chicago will be approximately 1 hour and 40 minutes. A pause, longer than normal. Before we begin our beverage service, I need to address something. Jessica's head snapped up. I've been made aware of an incident during boarding. I want to assure all passengers that Crown Atlantic takes such matters very seriously. A full investigation will be conducted upon landing. Jessica felt the cabin's eyes turning toward her. Every passenger knew. Everyone had seen. Additionally, Reynolds continued, his voice tight, I've been informed that we have a distinguished guest aboard today, Mr. Marcus Hayes, CEO of Hayes Global Holdings. The cabin went silent. Jessica's brow furrowed. That name. Why did it sound familiar? Derek's face had turned gray. For those unaware, Reynolds said, Hayes Global Holdings recently became the majority shareholder of Crown Atlantic Airlines. Mr. Hayes now oversees all operations, personnel decisions, and company policy. Jessica's knees buckled. She grabbed the galley counter. No. Mr. Hayes has requested to address the cabin. I'm turning over the intercom now. The click of the mic switching hands. Then a new voice. Deep, controlled, cold. Good afternoon. My name is Marcus Hayes. In seat 1A, Marcus stood. He held the cabin phone. His eyes swept across business class, landing on Jessica, locking there. The man your crew just assaulted and removed from this aircraft is my father, Robert Hayes. Collective gasps rippled through the cabin. Jessica's hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes went wide. She looked at Derek. He was frozen, paralyzed. Marcus continued. His voice never wavered. Each word is precise, measured. My father is a 72-year-old veteran. He served in Vietnam. He worked for the United States Postal Service for 40 years. He's never been arrested, never had a complaint filed against him. He's never missed a bill payment in his life. Passengers were leaning forward, hanging on every word. 6 months ago, I told my father I wanted to buy him a business class ticket to fly to my daughter's graduation. His granddaughter, Maya Hayes. She's graduating from Northwestern, pre-med, top of her class. Marcus's voice tightened slightly, emotion breaking through. My father refused. He said he'd buy his own ticket, said he'd saved his whole life to provide for his family. He wanted this one thing for himself, to sit in business class just once, to feel like his hard work meant something. Silence. Complete silence. I was supposed to meet him at the airport, but I decided to surprise him. I booked myself on the same flight, first class. I wanted to see his face when he experienced the comfort he'd earned. Marcus paused. Let that sink in. Instead, I watched a member of this airline's crew verbally abuse him, physically assault him, accuse him of theft, of lying, of not belonging. His eyes never left Jessica. I watched her destroy his ticket, kick his belongings, mock his dead wife, and then strike him in the face, hard enough to draw blood, hard enough to break his glasses. A woman in row 6 started crying. I watched airport security remove my father like a criminal, while the woman who assaulted him stood there smiling. Marcus lowered the phone slightly, spoke directly to the cabin now, not through the intercom. Some of you are wondering why I didn't intervene. Why did I let it happen? He stepped into the aisle. Because I needed to see it. All of it. I needed to watch the system expose itself. I needed to see how far it would go, how many people would stay silent, how many would participate. He walked slowly toward business class, toward the galley, toward Jessica. And now you're all witnesses. You've all seen it. You can't unsee it. You can't pretend it didn't happen. Derek moved to block his path. Mr. Hayes, I think we should discuss this privately. Step aside, Derek. Sir, if we could just step aside. The command was absolute. Derek moved. Marcus reached the galley. Jessica backed against the counter. Her face was tear-streaked. Her hands shook. Mr. Hayes, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know he was your father. Marcus stared at her, long and hard. That's the problem, Jessica. You didn't need to know, because it shouldn't matter. Whether he's my father or a stranger, whether he's a CEO or a janitor, he deserved basic human dignity. His voice dropped lower, more dangerous. But since we're discussing what you didn't know, let me educate you. He pulled out his phone, turned it toward the cabin, projected his screen onto the overhead monitors using the aircraft's Wi-Fi system. A document appeared. Jessica Morrison's personnel file. 23 complaints filed against you in the past 3 years, all involving passengers of color, all mysteriously closed without investigation. He scrolled. Names appeared, dates, incidents. Passenger Zhao, Chinese American. You accused him of speaking too loudly in Mandarin, had him moved to the rear of the plane. Passenger Martinez, Hispanic. You accused her of stealing a blanket, the blanket you had given her. Passenger Johnson, black teenager. You had him removed for suspicious behavior. He was reading a physics textbook. Each name hit like a hammer. Passengers gasped. Some pulled out their phones, recording everything. Passenger Williams, Passenger Rodriguez, Passenger Kim, Passenger Abu Baker. The list went on and on. Every single complaint filed. Every single complaint closed. All signed off by the same person. Marcus turned to Derek. Derek Sullivan, route manager. Your signature on every dismissal, every cover-up. Derek's mouth opened. Nothing came out. And do you know who processed these dismissals in HR? Who made sure they never reached the ethics board? Marcus pulled up another file. Michael Sullivan, Derek's brother, HR compliance officer, brotherly loyalty, systematic corruption. The cabin erupted in angry murmurs. Sarah Carter appeared from the rear galley. She'd been listening to everything. She walked forward, stood beside Marcus. I can confirm all of this, she said. Her voice is steady now, strong. I've been documenting Jessica's behavior for 3 years. I have recordings, photos, witness statements from other crew members too scared to speak up. She pulled out her backup phone, held it up. I have evidence of 23 incidents. I filed reports after each one. Every report was dismissed. I was told to stay quiet or face termination. Marcus nodded at her. Sarah Carter, you're now acting route manager, effective immediately. Your first task is to cooperate with the independent investigation I'm ordering. Sarah's eyes widened. Sir, You chose integrity over comfort. That's the kind of leadership this airline needs. He turned back to Derek. Derek Sullivan, you're terminated. Effective immediately. Security will escort you off this aircraft when we land. Your brother Michael is also terminated. Both of you will be referred to the Department of Justice for obstruction of justice and civil rights violations. Derek's face went red. You can't just... I have a contract. Your contract includes a morality clause. You violated it 23 times that we can prove. Probably more. My legal team will be in touch. Marcus turned to Jessica. She was sobbing now, mascara running. Her perfect image was destroyed. Jessica Morrison, you committed assault. On camera, with multiple witnesses. Captain Reynolds will contact the Chicago Police Department. You will be arrested upon landing. Please, Jessica choked out. I didn't mean... I was just doing my job. Your job is customer service, not racial profiling, not assault. Marcus pulled out his phone, made a call, put it on speaker. It rang twice. Hello? Robert's voice, confused, tired. Dad, it's Marcus. I'm on the plane. Everyone can hear you. Son? What's going on? I need you to come back to the gate. I'm having them turn the plane around. Silence on the other end. Marcus, you don't need to do this. I'm fine. I'll catch the next flight. No, Dad. You're catching this flight, in the seat you paid for, with the dignity you deserve. Robert's voice cracked. Son? Trust me, Dad. Please. A long pause. Then, okay, I'm still in the terminal. Marcus hung up, turned to Captain Reynolds, who had emerged from the cockpit. Captain, return to the gate. We're boarding one additional passenger. Reynolds nodded immediately. Yes, sir. Returning to gate now. The plane banked. Passengers felt the turn. Confusion rippled through the cabin. Jessica slumped to the floor, sobbing. Derek stood frozen, useless. Marcus addressed the entire cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this delay, but some things are more important than schedules. Dignity, justice, accountability. He paused. Crown Atlantic Airlines has a problem. A systematic problem. For too long, complaints about discrimination have been ignored, buried, dismissed. That ends today. He pulled up another screen on the monitors. I'm announcing a $50 million fund for victims of discrimination on Crown Atlantic flights. Every complaint filed in the past 5 years will be reopened, investigated independently. Every victim will be contacted, compensated, heard. Applause broke out. Slowly at first, then building. Soon the entire cabin was clapping. Additionally, I'm implementing an independent oversight board, external auditors, quarterly bias training, real training, not checkbox exercises, and a whistleblower protection program with financial incentives. More applause. Because what happened to my father happens every day, to thousands of people, in airports, on planes, in hotels, in stores, everywhere. And it only stops when we decide it stops. The plane touched down, rolled back to the gate. The jetway extended. The door opened. Robert Hayes stood there, His shirt was still blood-stained. His face was bruised, but his head was high. Marcus walked to the door, met his father. They embraced. The entire cabin stood, applauded, cheered. Robert's eyes welled up. He looked at all these strangers, clapping for him, for his dignity, for justice. Jessica remained on the galley floor, destroyed. Derek stood against the wall, powerless. Marcus led his father to seat 4C, the seat he'd paid for. Then Marcus made an announcement. "Actually, Dad, you're sitting in first class, seat 1B, next to me." He upgraded Robert on the spot, led him to first class, seated him in the cream leather. A flight attendant, not Jessica, brought champagne. "With the airline's deepest apologies, Mr. Hayes." Robert took the glass, looked at his son. "You didn't let anger make you cruel," Robert said quietly. "You let it make you just." Marcus's eyes reddened. "I learned from you, Dad." The plane pushed back again, this time with the right passenger in the right seat. As they taxied, Marcus pulled out his phone, checked social media. Hashtag Flight 447 was trending worldwide. Number 1, 4 million views. Major news outlets picking it up. CNN. Breaking. Airline CEO's father assaulted on Crown Atlantic flight. MSNBC. Shocking video shows. Elderly black man attacked by flight attendant. New York Times. Discrimination investigation launched after viral video. The story was everywhere. Justice was being served, publicly, undeniably, and it was only the beginning. 48 hours later, Jessica Morrison sat in a Chicago police station, her hands cuffed to a metal table. Her lawyer beside her looked exhausted. The charges: assault and battery, federal interference with flight crew duties. The irony was sharp. She'd accused Robert of the crime she committed. Bail was set at $50,000. She couldn't afford it. Her bank account held $6,000. Her credit cards were maxed. She'd been fired before the plane landed. Her flight attendant license was suspended. Her face was everywhere. The most hated woman in America. Derek Sullivan faced similar charges, plus conspiracy to obstruct justice. His brother Michael was arrested at Crown Atlantic headquarters. FBI agents walked him out in handcuffs. Employees filmed it, posted it online. Justice served in real time. 1 week after Flight 447, Marcus Hayes stood at a podium in Crown Atlantic's headquarters. Cameras everywhere. Every major news outlet present. "Good morning. I'm Marcus Hayes, CEO of Hayes Global Holdings and majority shareholder of Crown Atlantic Airlines. I'm here to address Flight 447 and announce immediate changes." He clicked the first slide. First, a $50 million dignity restoration fund. Every passenger who filed a discrimination complaint in the past 5 years will be contacted. Cases reviewed independently. Victims compensated fairly. Reporters scribbled notes. Cameras flashed. Second, an independent oversight board, chaired by civil rights leaders, representatives from the NAACP, Anti-Defamation League, and ACLU. Full access to all records, all files, all communications. Click. Next slide. Third, mandatory quarterly bias training. Real training, facilitated by experts, not online modules. Attendance verified, performance measured. Fourth, whistleblower protection and incentives. Employees who report discrimination will be protected and rewarded. $10,000 per verified report. The room buzzed. Unprecedented. Fifth, public transparency. Crown Atlantic will publish discrimination complaint statistics quarterly. Number filed, number investigated. Outcomes. Full transparency. Marcus paused. These changes are effective immediately. Not next month. Today. A reporter raised her hand. "Mr. Hayes, what about your father?" Marcus's expression softened. "My father is home. Healing. He attended my daughter's graduation. Maya graduated with highest honors. My father sat in the front row, where he belonged. Another reporter. Will he press charges? That's his decision. I support whatever he chooses. What about the financial impact? Your stock dropped 12%. Marcus nodded. Yes, because we failed our customers. But I believe the market rewards companies that do right. Long-term, these changes will strengthen Crown Atlantic. He was right. Within 2 weeks, the stock rebounded, rose 34% above its previous high. 2 weeks after the incident, Robert Hayes sat in his living room in Atlanta, the house he'd shared with Margaret for 43 years. His face had healed. The bruise faded to yellow. The cut was a thin line now, but something deeper had changed. His phone rang constantly, news outlets, lawyers, civil rights organizations asking him to speak. He declined most. He wasn't a public speaker, wasn't an activist, just a man who'd bought a plane ticket. But one invitation he accepted. His church, Bethel AME, held an appreciation service. The sanctuary was packed, standing room only. Pastor Davis stood at the pulpit, his voice booming. Brother Robert Hayes didn't ask for this fight, but when injustice stood before him, he didn't surrender his dignity. The congregation erupted. Amen. Preach. Brother Hayes showed us that power isn't in raising your voice, it's in keeping your composure. Power isn't in fighting back with fists, it's standing firm with principle. Robert sat in the front pew, uncomfortable with attention, but grateful. After the service, dozens approached him, shared their stories. An older black woman. I was removed from a flight in 1987. They said my ticket was suspicious. Nobody believed me. Thank you. A young Hispanic man. I get randomly selected every time I fly. Every time. Now maybe that'll change. A middle-aged Asian woman. My daughter was humiliated last year. The airline did nothing. You gave us hope. Story after story. Robert listened to each one, held space for their pain. That evening, he sat alone in his kitchen, pulled out Margaret's photo. I wish you could have seen it, Maggie, he whispered. Our boy, the way he stood up, not just for me, for everyone. He could almost hear her voice. I always knew that boy would change the world. Robert smiled, wiped his eyes. 6 months later, Crown Atlantic looked different. Flight crew diversity increased dramatically. Training programs were rigorous, real. Employees felt safer speaking up. 217 former passengers came forward. 162 received compensation, apologies, validation. The Department of Transportation launched an industry-wide investigation. 5 other airlines showed similar patterns. Congressional hearings scheduled. Senator Williams from California. The Hayes incident wasn't isolated. It was systemic failure. We're introducing the Robert Hayes Fair Travel Act. The bill gained bipartisan support. Injustice caught on camera united people. Sarah Carter sat in her new office, VP of Employee Relations, a title she'd never imagined. She'd become the face of corporate whistleblowing, featured in Time magazine. The flight attendant who wouldn't look away. Her bystander to upstander training program was implemented across Crown Atlantic. Then 12 other airlines adopted it. Change was happening, slowly, imperfectly, but undeniably. Jessica Morrison, 6 months into court-mandated therapy, sat across from Dr. Patterson. When did you first feel superior to others based on race? The therapist asked. Jessica broke down. Years of unchallenged beliefs. Her father's racist views. She'd never questioned them. She attended a restorative justice circle. Robert chose to participate. Jessica, crying, I can't undo what I did. I can't give you back your dignity. Robert looked at her steadily. You never took it. You just tested it. The question is, what you do now. Jessica began volunteering with a racial justice organization. The road was long, but she'd taken the first steps. Redemption wasn't forgiveness. It was accountability plus change. 1 year after Flight 447, Robert Hayes boarded another Crown Atlantic flight. Same route, Atlanta to Chicago. His heart beat faster than he'd like. Last time, he'd been assaulted, humiliated, removed. But Maya's white coat ceremony was tomorrow. Medical school. She was becoming a doctor. He stepped onto the aircraft. The crew recognized him immediately. "Mr. Hayes?" The flight attendant, James Washington, extended his hand. "It's an honor to serve you today, sir." The captain emerged. "Mr. Hayes, welcome aboard. If you need anything, please let us know." Robert found his seat. 4C, the same seat. But everything was different. The crew was diverse, professional, kind. New policies posted: dignity, respect, justice. He settled in. A text from Marcus appeared. "Dad, I reserved the seat next to you, but left it empty, with a rose. For Mom." Robert looked. Seat 4B, empty. A white rose on the tray table. A small plaque. "In memory of Margaret Hayes." Tears streamed down his face. The plane pushed back. Engines hummed. Robert closed his eyes. He could feel Margaret beside him, could hear her laugh, could sense her pride. This seat, this moment, this victory, it was for her, for them, for everyone who'd been told they didn't belong. The plane lifted into the sky. Robert Hayes flew in dignity. Finally, completely. This story isn't about one flight attendant or one airline. It's about the systems we build, and the courage required to dismantle them when they fail our most vulnerable. Robert Hayes never raised his voice, never responded with violence, never abandoned his principles. His weapon was unwavering dignity. In an interview 6 months later, Robert said something that went viral again. "They can take your seat, your briefcase, even your pride. But your dignity? That's yours to keep or give away. I chose to keep mine." Those words were shared 2 million times, printed on posters, quoted in sermons, taught in classrooms, because dignity isn't given, it's maintained. Even when others try to strip it away. Sarah Carter's role shows us something equally powerful. 3 years of documentation. She could have stayed silent, kept her job, avoided risk. Instead, she chose courage over comfort. If you see something, record it, report it. Refuse to be complicit, she said in her Time interview. Statistics show 67% of discrimination incidents have witnesses who stay silent. Fear of retaliation, fear of confrontation, fear of being wrong. But what if just 10% spoke up? The system would collapse, because abuse of power requires silence to survive. Marcus Hayes had power, but timing mattered. He let the system expose itself fully before intervening. He could have stopped Jessica immediately, pulled rank, ended it in seconds. But then only Jessica would have faced consequences. The system protecting her would have remained hidden. Marcus used power not for revenge, but for reform. "Power isn't about dominance," he said at Harvard Business School. "It's about protection. Use yours to shield, not to strike." Power wielded for personal satisfaction is tyranny. Power wielded for systemic change is justice. What about Jessica Morrison? What about redemption? 6 months of therapy. Restorative justice circles. Volunteering with racial justice organizations. She's doing the work. But redemption isn't erasing the past. It's refusing to repeat it. It's not an absolution. It's accountability plus sustained change. Jessica lost her career, faced criminal charges, became a public example. Those were necessary consequences. But after the consequences, we can offer a path forward. Not forgiveness, not forgetting, but the possibility of becoming better. So what do? How do we create change? 5 individual actions matter. First, document. Your phone camera is an accountability tool. Record incidents. Save evidence. Second, speak up. Break the silence. Support victims publicly. Your voice adds weight. Third, amplify. Share stories of injustice. Use your platforms. Silence protects abusers. Fourth, demand action. Contact companies. Be specific. I'm boycotting until you address complaint X filed on Y date. Fifth, support organizations. NOACP, ACLU, Anti-Defamation League. They need resources. 5 systemic actions. First, vote. For leaders who prioritize civil rights enforcement, who fund oversight agencies. Second, boycott. Companies feel it in their stock price. Money talks. Third, advocate. Push for legislation like the Robert Hayes Act. Call representatives. Attend town halls. Fourth, invest. Support businesses with genuine diversity commitments. Real policies. Real results. Fifth, educate. Have difficult conversations about race and power. At dinner tables. In workplaces. Discomfort is where growth happens. Ask yourself hard questions. Have you ever witnessed discrimination and stayed silent? What stopped you? What would you do if you were on Flight 447? Would you record? Would you speak up? What power do you have? Your voice, your vote, your wallet. How are you using it? Robert's story is one of millions. Black Americans are 3 times more likely to experience public discrimination. Airlines, retail, restaurants, healthcare. No industry is exempt. But every viral moment creates accountability pressure. Flight 447 joined BBQ Becky, Permit Patty, Central Park Karen. Each incident forced institutions to respond. We haven't fixed systemic racism. One CEO, one airline, one viral video won't end centuries of injustice. But every Robert Hayes who refuses to surrender dignity moves the needle. Every Sarah Carter who refuses to stay silent moves it further. Every Marcus Hayes who refuses to hoard power moves it more. Slowly, painfully, but undeniably. Margaret Hayes used to say, "Baby, the arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice." Robert finally understands. It doesn't bend by itself. We bend it. One dignified moment at a time. So here's my question to you. When your moment comes, and it will come, will you be the person who speaks up? Or the person who looks away? Because Flight 447 taught us something no video could capture. Justice isn't a spectator sport. It requires all of us. If this story moved you, share it. Not for likes, not for views. Share it because someone in your network needs to hear that their dignity matters. That their voice matters, that they matter. Leave a comment. Tell us your story. When did you speak up? When did you stay silent? What will you do differently next time? Subscribe. Because stories like this need to be told. Dignity needs to be defended. Justice needs to be demanded. Your moment is coming. Be ready. Justice. For Mr. Hayes. Dignity matters. Speak up.
At Black Voices Uncut, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.
Glass shatters as the door explodes inward. Officers' weapons aimed at a black man frantically covering documents. The lead officer slams him against the wall, zip ties cutting into his wrists. 3 more officers pour in, weapons drawn, boots crunching over broken glass and scattered papers. The man speaks calmly despite the knee in his back. "I'm Colonel James Harrington, Pentagon Special Operations Command. My credentials are in my wallet." "Sure, buddy, you work for the Pentagon and I'm the president." Officer Daniels laughs, digging through the wallet and tossing aside a high-security clearance badge. Nice fake ID. The camera pans across multiple computer screens displaying satellite imagery, mission coordinates, and the words classified, top secret in bold red. The man whispers something that makes the lead officer's face go pale. Colonel James Harrington sits in his home office, fingers flying across 3 keyboards. Satellite feeds display terrain in a foreign territory while encrypted messages scroll across another screen. The suburban Virginia home's exterior betrays nothing of the critical mission unfolding inside. Harrington wears simple gray sweatpants and a navy t-shirt, comfort prioritized during what's already a 12-hour remote command session. "Extraction team, hold position," he directs into his headset, voice carrying the steady authority of his 22 years of military service. "Satellite showing hostiles at your 2 o'clock, half-click out." Outside, a patrol car pulls to the curb. Officers Daniels and Rivera scan the upscale neighborhood of colonial-style homes and manicured lawns. Dispatch had relayed a neighbor's call, suspicious activity, possible break-in, unknown black male entering the residence at 1478 Oakwood Drive. "Caller says he's never seen this guy before," Officer Daniels says, checking his sidearm. Claims he doesn't match the neighborhood demographic. Officer Rivera nods, younger and deferential. Property records show owner is a James Harrington, purchased 3 years ago. 3 years without neighbors recognizing him? Daniels scoffs. That's a red flag. He's either never here or it's not actually his place. They approach cautiously, noticing lights on in what appears to be a home office. Through partially open blinds, they glimpse Harrington gesturing emphatically while speaking to someone not visible. "Check it out," Daniels whispers, crouching below window level. "Multiple screens, maps, looks like some kind of planning operation." "Maybe he's gaming? One of those military strategy things?" Rivera suggests. Daniels' face hardens. "Or planning something else. People don't have setups like that for video games." His hand moves to his weapon. "Remember that cell we busted last year? Had similar equipment." Inside, Harrington remains oblivious to their presence, fully focused on guiding a team of servicemen and women through hostile territory halfway across the world. "Command, we're at the extraction point," crackles a voice in his headset. "Awaiting final approach coordinates." Daniels signals to Rivera, drawing his weapon as he whispers, "We've got a situation in progress." Harrington's focus narrows to the mission display. 6 American operatives await his guidance in territory where official U.S. presence would constitute an international incident. Their lives hang on his next commands. "Satellite shows clear approach from the northeast," he says, adjusting the satellite angle. "Extraction vehicle ETA 3 minutes. Maintain radio silence until..." A pounding at the front door barely registers through his noise-canceling headset. When it comes again, louder, he mentally flags it as neighborhood noise, irrelevant to the critical operation. Outside, Daniels pounds a 3rd time, frustration mounting. "He knows we're here," he tells Rivera, voice hardening, refusing to answer. "Maybe he can't hear us," Rivera suggests, noting the late hour and closed windows. "Should we call for backup? Verify ownership before..." "I'm calling it in," Daniels cuts him off, already radioing dispatch. "Possible hostile situation, suspect non-compliant, requesting immediate backup and authorization for forced entry." "Authorization?" Rivera questions, eyebrows rising. "Don't we need a warrant to..." "Exigent circumstances," Daniels snaps. "Could be destroying evidence right now. Plus I saw movement consistent with flight preparation." Inside, Harrington finally registers a distant banging sound. He mutes his microphone momentarily. "What the hell?" he mutters, glancing toward his front door. Before he can investigate, the splintering crash of the battering ram sends him into protective mode. Military instinct takes over. Secure classified information first. He lunges to shield the screens, reaching to activate emergency security protocols. The door gives way with a thunderous crack. Daniels enters first, weapon drawn, shouting commands. "Police! Hands where I can see them, now!" Harrington freezes mid-motion, caught between conflicting imperatives. Respond to the immediate threat or protect national security information. His screens still display classified mission data, operative locations, extraction coordinates. "Step away from the computers!" Daniels barks while Rivera moves to flank, both weapons trained on Harrington. "Officers, I'm Colonel James Harrington, Pentagon Special Operations," he states calmly, hands raising slowly. "I'm conducting a classified military operation. My credentials, away from the computers, on your knees, now!" Daniels advances, weapons steady. As Daniels forces Harrington to the ground, the open computer pings with an urgent message. "Colonel, team under fire. Awaiting orders." Harrington's face presses against the hardwood floor, arms wrenched behind him. Cold metal handcuffs bite into his wrists, while the mission computer continues to ping with increasingly urgent alerts. "I have men and women in harm's way right now," Harrington says, maintaining remarkable composure. "You're interfering with a classified Pentagon operation. My ID is in my back pocket. Pentagon credentials, Special Operations Command." Daniels roughly searches him, pulling out a wallet. The military ID gleams under the office lights. Department of Defense insignia clear, Harrington's photo and colonel rank designation prominent. "Nice fake," Daniels scoffs, tossing it aside. "Very professional. Where'd you get it made?" More officers arrive, fanning through the house. One photographs the computer screens, inadvertently documenting classified information. Another rifles through Harrington's desk drawers, pulling out folders stamped with security classification markers. "That's classified material," Harrington states, voice level despite the knee in his back. "You're creating a national security incident." "Yeah, sure am," an officer laughs, opening another drawer. He pulls out a shadow box containing military medals, Bronze Star, Legion of Merit, Purple Heart, all inscribed with Harrington's name. Through Harrington's discarded headset comes a desperate voice. "Colonel, we're taking fire. Do we abort? Colonel, please respond." "Those people need my instructions," Harrington says, straining against the handcuffs. "Lives are at stake. At least let me secure the mission." "The only mission getting secured is your trip to Holding," Daniels says, roughly pulling Harrington to his feet. He shoves him into a chair while continuing the search, deliberately dropping military documents on the floor. Through the broken doorway, a middle-aged white man in a bathrobe peers in, the neighbor who called. His eyes meet Harrington's, showing no recognition despite 3 years of living 50 yards apart. "That's him," the neighbor confirms to another officer. "Never seen him around here before?" "I've lived here 3 years, Harrington states. "You waved to me last weekend when I was mowing my lawn." The neighbor blinks, confusion momentarily crossing his face before hardening into certainty. "No, I'd remember if someone like you lived here." An officer lifts a framed photo from Harrington's desk. Harrington in full-dress uniform receiving an award from the previous Secretary of Defense. "Pretty elaborate cover story," Daniel says, taking the photo. "Real creative. Pentagon commander, huh? Then what are you doing here instead of the Pentagon?" "Remote command protocol," Harrington answers, watching his computer screens continue to flash with urgent messages. "Implemented after the Arlington security breach last year. Please, officer, I need to respond to my team." Daniels laughs, turning to the other officers. "Hear that? His team needs him. What, your burglary team waiting on instructions?" As Harrington sits humiliated on his own floor, a text illuminates his phone screen. "Sir, Secretary of Defense trying to reach you. Mission critical." Harrington watches his phone buzz on the desk, the secretary's name flashing. Each notification represents mounting danger for his team. He makes a rapid strategic assessment. The safety of his operatives now outweighs protocol. "Officer," he addresses Rivera, who seems less dismissive than Daniels. "American lives are at stake. Whatever you think is happening here, I need one phone call, not to a lawyer, to my commanding officer." Rivera hesitates, glancing at the increasingly frantic messages appearing on screens and phone. "Standard procedure," Harrington continues, voice calm but insistent. "You're legally required to allow me one call." Daniels returns from searching another room. Found more of these fancy IDs in the bedroom, he announces, holding up Harrington's passport and military credentials. Guy's got a whole identity theft operation going. I think we should let him make the call, Rivera suggests. Supervised. If he's lying, we'll know. Waste of time, Daniels dismisses. Or confirmation we're doing the right thing, Rivera counters. What's the harm? Daniels relents with obvious reluctance. Fine, one call on speaker. Harrington nods toward his phone. The number's already there, Secretary Garrison. Daniels raises an eyebrow, dialing with theatrical skepticism. The phone connects almost immediately. Colonel Harrington, where the hell? A deep voice begins. Sir, we have a Code Amber situation, Harrington interrupts, using predetermined security language. Echo Team is in Omega status, and I'm currently dealing with an unauthorized entry at my command station. Local law enforcement unaware of Nightfall Protocol. A beat of silence follows. The officers exchange glances. Understood, Colonel, the voice replies, instantly professional. I'll activate contingency command for Echo Team, regarding your situation. Am I on speaker with the officers present? Yes, sir. This is Secretary of Defense Thomas Garrison, the voice states firmly. The man you have in custody is Colonel James Harrington, commanding a classified extraction operation. You have exactly 30 seconds to release him before I contact your chief, your commissioner, and if necessary, the governor. You have created a national security incident. Daniel's face flushes. Sir, we received reports of suspicious... Your report was incorrect, Garrison cuts him off. Colonel, are you physically capable of resuming command? Yes, sir, but screens have been compromised. I'll need security sweep and system reset. Authorized. I'm dispatching Pentagon security to your location now. Officers, you will secure the premises from the outside and speak to no one about what you've seen. Through the window, Harrington observes the neighbor still watching from the sidewalk, satisfaction on his face at seeing a black man in handcuffs. In this moment, Harrington makes a silent vow. This violation won't stand, not just for himself, but for everyone who experiences such treatment without his resources and position. As the call ends, Daniels reluctantly removes the handcuffs, avoiding eye contact. Rivera looks genuinely concerned, perhaps finally processing the magnitude of their error. As Harrington ends the call, the house lights suddenly cut out, and every officer's radio simultaneously erupts with static. Darkness envelops the room. Emergency security protocols activate. Pentagon cyber teams remotely securing Harrington's systems and communications. The momentary blackout creates a power shift more meaningful than mere lighting. When power returns seconds later, Harrington stands differently, shoulders squared, posture commanding. The officers' radios continue buzzing with static before a voice cuts through. Their precinct captain. All units at 1478 Oakwood Drive, stand down immediately. I repeat, stand down. Clear the premises and establish a perimeter only. Do not interact further with the resident. Daniels grabs his radio. Captain, this is Daniels. We have a potential situation here involving... Officer Daniels, the captain interrupts, voice sharp with barely contained fury. I've just received a call from the goddamn Secretary of Defense. Stand down, exit the premises, secure the perimeter. That is a direct order. But sir, the suspect was the resident, Officer Daniels. Colonel Harrington is the legal resident and a high-ranking military officer conducting classified operations. Get out of his house, now! Rivera immediately moves toward the door, but Daniels hesitates, something hardening in his expression. Protocol requires we complete the investigation once initiated. For all we know, this call could be, Daniels, so help me God, the captain's voice booms through every officer's radio simultaneously. If you are not outside that house in 10 seconds, you'll be turning in your badge tonight. Through the broken doorway, headlights flash as a black SUV with government plates screeches into the driveway. Two more identical vehicles follow, boxing in the police cruisers. Harrington uses the momentary distraction to access his keyboard, entering a series of commands. The screens flicker, mission systems rerouting through secure Pentagon servers. On one monitor, confirmation appears. Echo team secured. Backup command engaged. Officers move uncertainly toward the exit, all except Daniels, who maintains his position, hand still resting on his weapon. "You're making a career-ending mistake," Harrington says quietly, not as a threat but as simple fact. "This isn't over," Daniels responds, voice low. "You're not what you claim to be." "I am exactly what I claim to be," Harrington answers, standing taller. "That's what you can't accept." The front door opens without a knock, revealing a woman in a suit flanked by military police who outrank everyone present. The woman enters without hesitation, her tailored suit and commanding presence immediately dominating the room. Military police in full tactical gear flank her, weapons not drawn but positions strategic. "Director Catherine Chen, Defense Intelligence Agency," she announces, ID already extended. "Colonel Harrington, are you injured?" "Negative, Director," Harrington responds, military formality returning to his voice. "Systems compromised, but team secure." She nods once, then turns to Daniels. "Officer, you and your colleagues will exit immediately. Military police will secure the perimeter." Her tone leaves no room for discussion. "Ma'am, we're conducting a legal police operation based on a neighbor's call about a black man entering his own home," she interrupts, eyes narrowing. "You've compromised classified intelligence, violated constitutional protections against unlawful search, and interfered with a military operation. Exit now." The military police move forward, creating a corridor toward the door. Daniels stands his ground for a tense moment before Rivera touches his arm. "Daniels, let's go," he urges quietly. Outside, red and blue lights flash as the precinct captain arrives, face set in a thunderous expression. The neighbor who made the call attempts to approach him but is intercepted by a uniformed officer taking statements. Inside, Chen personally removes Harrington's handcuffs. "Status report, Colonel." Harrington immediately returns to his command station, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Echo team reached extraction point. Secondary command engaged when I was detained. Operation proceeding, but mission data has been compromised." Military technicians pour in, establishing a secure perimeter and documenting everything. The broken door, disturbed documents, unauthorized access to classified systems. One photographs Harrington's military credentials discarded on the floor. Through the window, Harrington watches the precinct captain confronting Daniels, gesturing angrily toward the house. More vehicles arrive. Military, police, internal affairs, even a news van drawn by the unusual confluence of authority. "Pentagon cyber teams have locked down your systems," Chen informs him, watching the technicians work. "Secretary Garrison wants a full debrief when you've stabilized the operation." Harrington nods, focus split between completing his mission and processing the violation of his home and rights. The weight of both responsibilities sits squarely on his shoulders. As Harrington successfully guides the extraction team to safety, Director Chen places a call. "Mr. Secretary, we need to discuss Officer Daniels and systemic police overreach. Colonel Harrington wants to take this all the way." By dawn, Harrington's home transforms into a secure military zone. Technical teams sweep for compromised information, while military police maintain a tight perimeter. Inside, Harrington completes the mission debrief via secure video conference, his expression betraying none of the night's turmoil. "Echo team extracted safely, sir," he reports to the Joint Chiefs representative on screen. "All operatives accounted for, minimal engagement with hostiles." "Excellent work under extraordinary circumstances, Colonel," responds the general. "Now, about the breach at your command station." Outside, the media presence grows. Local stations arrived first, drawn by the unusual police and military convergence. National outlets follow as rumors spread of a high-ranking military officer detained in his own home. At police headquarters, Internal Affairs launches an immediate investigation. Officer Daniels sits stone-faced in an interview room while investigators review body camera footage. Rivera provides his statement in another room, voice steady as he recounts the events leading to the unauthorized raid. Officer Daniels said the suspect, I mean, Colonel Harrington was acting suspiciously, Rivera explains. When there was no immediate response to our knock, Daniels called for the battering ram without attempting to verify residency. The internal affairs investigator makes notes. And the basis for the original call? Neighbor reported, quote, someone who doesn't belong in the neighborhood entering the residence. Across town, that neighbor faces his own questioning. Military investigators and police sit at his dining room table, reviewing his call history. Records show you've made 17 calls about suspicious persons in the past year, notes the investigator. All described as minorities, none resulting in actual crime. The neighbor shifts uncomfortably. I'm just being vigilant about neighborhood safety. Back at Harrington's home, the colonel finally completes his official duties. Echo team safely extracted, mission documentation secured, compromise assessment completed. Only now does he turn his full attention to the violation of his rights. Colonel, Director Chen approaches with a secure phone. There are people you should speak with. Civil rights attorneys, military legal counsel, Congressional Oversight Committee members, all waiting for your call. Harrington takes the phone, determination hardening his features. This isn't about just me anymore. This is about accountability and ensuring it never happens again. At the Pentagon, the Secretary of Defense reviews the preliminary report, then looks up grimly. Get me the Attorney General. This stops now. The congressional hearing room falls silent as Colonel James Harrington approaches the podium. His dress uniform gleams under the lights, medals and commendations telling their own story of service and sacrifice. This closed session of the Joint Security Committee wasn't originally scheduled to address police misconduct, but the incident at Harrington's home has implications far beyond ordinary civil rights violations. Colonel Harrington, begins the committee chair, please proceed with your operational assessment. Harrington stands perfectly straight, voice clear and professional. Chairwoman, committee members, I appear before you today to report on Operation Nightfall, specifically the extraction of intelligence assets from hostile territory. For 20 minutes, he delivers a flawless briefing on the mission. Operational parameters, intelligence gathered, personnel extracted, all without a single reference to the interruption that nearly compromised it all. Committee members take notes, impressed by both the mission's success and Harrington's composed delivery. Only after completing the official mission report does Harrington shift focus. Now, regarding the security breach that occurred during operations, he states, nodding to an aide who distributes folders to committee members. At 22:37 Eastern Time, my command station was compromised by unauthorized personnel, creating a Level 1 security incident. The room stills as Harrington activates a display screen. High-definition footage from his home security system plays. Officers pounding briefly before battering down his door, weapons drawn, Harrington's immediate attempt to secure classified information, his clear statements identifying himself, officers dismissing his credentials. My God, whispers one committee member, a former military officer himself. Harrington continues, methodical and precise. The officer's actions compromised classified intelligence, endangered operational personnel, and violated multiple laws and constitutional protections. However, this briefing isn't solely about this single incident. The screen changes, displaying Harrington's impressive credentials: Rhodes Scholar, Harvard Law graduate, distinguished military career spanning 22 years, recipient of the Bronze Star, Legion of Merit, and Purple Heart. Currently one of the Pentagon's highest-ranking black officers. What you may not see in my file is that this wasn't my first encounter with law enforcement based solely on my appearance. Harrington's voice remains steady. In my current neighborhood, I've been stopped while jogging 3 times, questioned while retrieving my own mail twice, asked to prove residence while mowing my own lawn. He clicks to the next slide. A statistical analysis of similar incidents nationwide. This represents data from military personnel of color across all branches, collected over the past 5 years. Nearly 40% report similar experiences while in civilian clothes. The difference in my case wasn't the incident itself. It was that my position provided recourse and documentation. Committee members lean forward, Republicans and Democrats alike showing rare unified concern. This isn't just a civil rights issue, Harrington continues. It's a national security vulnerability. When officers can disregard identification, violate constitutional protections, and interrupt critical operations based on a neighbor's biased report, we face a systemic failure that affects military readiness and operational security. Harrington presents a comprehensive proposal. Policy changes for both military protocols and law enforcement, accountability measures, training requirements, and legislative recommendations. I could pursue this privately, he concludes, seek personal damages and move forward. But this represents a pattern that endangers both individual rights and national security. It requires systemic solutions. The committee chair removes her glasses, visibly moved. Colonel Harrington, speaking for the entire committee, I express our profound apology for what you experienced. Your approach to this injustice, seeking structural change rather than personal retribution, exemplifies the highest ideals of service. A Republican senator known for law enforcement support nods gravely. Colonel, you've identified vulnerabilities we cannot ignore. This transcends politics. It's about constitutional rights and national security. As the hearing concludes, congressional staff already begin drafting response measures. Military and Justice Department representatives exchange concerned glances, recognizing the magnitude of changes to come. Harrington stands to leave when an aide rushes in, handing him a tablet. On screen, Officer Daniels speaks to a local news reporter. I was following department protocol. We received a call about suspicious activity and responded appropriately. If people don't want police attention, maybe they should... The aide cuts the video. He's given 3 interviews denying wrongdoing, the aide explains. Claims he's being scapegoated for following training and protocol. Harrington hands back the tablet, expression unchanged. Then his training and their protocol need to change. And he's just made that case for us. As Harrington concludes his presentation, his phone buzzes with a notification. Officer Daniels has just given an unapologetic interview to the press, claiming he was just following protocol. The incident at 1478 Oakwood Drive triggers a cascade of investigations, each revealing deeper institutional failures than the last. Inside the Pentagon's secure conference room, military intelligence officials review the breach report. Screens display compromised data, satellite positions, operative identities, mission parameters, all photographed by police during the unauthorized raid. Assessment confirms Level 1 security compromise, states the lead analyst. Officers' body cameras recorded 9 seconds of classified intelligence before Colonel Harrington could secure the systems. The Secretary of Defense studies the report, expression grim. Implement Harrington's recommendations immediately. Remote command protocols need complete overhaul, residential security systems for all officers conducting remote operations, and direct liaison with local law enforcement in all districts where our personnel reside. Across town, the police department's Internal Affairs Division faces its own reckoning. Investigators review Officer Daniels's service record, finding a disturbing pattern hidden in plain sight. 17 excessive force complaints in 8 years, notes the lead investigator, spreading files across the conference table. 15 involving minorities, all dismissed during preliminary review. The police chief, facing mounting pressure, examines the documentation. How did these never reach my desk? Standard procedure, explains the investigator. Complaints below a certain threshold get handled at precinct level. But looking at the pattern now, a pattern deliberately obscured by the process, the chief finishes, realization dawning. The system protected him by treating each incident in isolation. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division launches its broader investigation. Attorneys pore over hundreds of similar incidents nationwide, using Harrington's case as a catalyst for examining systemic issues. Colonel Harrington's case is the perfect test case, explains the lead attorney to her team. Impeccable victim with indisputable evidence, clear constitutional violations, and national security implications that transcend political divides. Media coverage evolves rapidly. Initial reports favored the police perspective. Officers respond to suspicious activity call, encounter military operation. Within days, as facts emerge, headlines shift. Pentagon colonel handcuffed in own home while commanding critical mission. A conservative and liberal outlets alike question the implications for both civil liberties and national security. Officer Rivera, transferred to administrative duties, provides crucial testimony about departmental culture. We're taught that hesitation costs lives, he explains to Internal Affairs. The message is clear. Better to act decisively and sort it out later than risk officer safety by pausing to verify. Even when no threat is apparent? Asks the investigator. Rivera hesitates. Especially then. We're trained to see potential threats everywhere, and there's enormous pressure not to question senior officers' decisions in the field. The neighbor whose call initiated the incident faces his own scrutiny. Community association records reveal a pattern of complaints about suspicious individuals, all minorities, all legitimate visitors or residents. Local news interviews other neighbors who describe a community WhatsApp group where certain residents regularly post about suspicious characters without evidence of actual criminal activity. At the police union headquarters, officials meet in emergency session. The union president slams his hand on the table. We always defend our officers, but this is indefensible, he states to stunned silence. Body camera footage, Pentagon security recordings, classified mission interference. We can't spin this. Another official disagrees. Daniels followed his training. If we don't stand behind him, we're abandoning every officer who breaks down doors without warrants, who ignores valid identification, who compromises national security. The president shakes his head. This isn't about one officer anymore. The entire department faces restructuring if we don't get ahead of this. The debate continues as more officers come forward with accounts of similar incidents and problematic training. 3 veteran officers request early retirement rather than participate in the investigation. Colonel Harrington navigates these proceedings with strategic precision. He meets with civil rights attorneys not to pursue personal damages, but to ensure systemic changes. He consults with police reform experts, military security specialists, and legislative aides drafting new protections. The goal isn't punishment, he explains during a closed-door meeting with Justice Department officials. It's transformation, not just for police departments, but for military protocols, community reporting systems, and accountability structures. At City Hall, the council holds an emergency session addressing the police department's liability. The city attorney presents a sobering assessment. Beyond potential civil damages, we face federal intervention if we don't implement comprehensive reforms, she explains. The DOJ has made clear this case provides grounds for a pattern or practice investigation of our entire department. Council members debate allocation of funds for retraining, oversight mechanisms, and community engagement programs. The discussion reveals deep divisions about policing philosophy, but surprising consensus about the need for change. This incident has forced us to confront what we've ignored, admits the council president. When someone of Colonel Harrington's stature experiences this treatment, it validates what many community members have reported for years. Throughout these proceedings, Officer Daniels remains defiant, giving interviews portraying himself as a scapegoat. His media appearances make reform advocates case for them. His unapologetic insistence that he followed protocol underscores the need for protocol changes. The police chief holds a press conference announcing immediate policy changes, mandatory warrant verification before forced entry, proper identification validation procedures, and supervisor approval for any action based solely on suspicious person reports. We failed Colonel Harrington, the chief acknowledges publicly. More importantly, we failed our community by allowing procedures that enabled bias to influence police actions. Today marks the beginning of essential reforms. Behind closed doors, the conversation is more pointed. The chief meets with precinct captains, internal affairs, and training officers. This stops now, he states unequivocally. We're implementing bias screening in hiring and psychological evaluations, weekly review of all civilian complaints, regardless of threshold, and any officer with a pattern of complaints faces immediate review, not protection. Several captains shift uncomfortably, recognizing their role in perpetuating problematic systems. One raises a hand. Sir, with all due respect, these standards will make recruitment and retention nearly impossible. Officers need confidence that the department will back their judgment calls. Their lawful judgment calls, the chief corrects. We'll back officers who follow constitutional procedures, nothing less. As these investigations unfold, Harrington continues his military duties while becoming an unexpected bridge between stakeholders. Military officials respect his strategic approach. Civil rights advocates appreciate his focus on systemic solutions. Law enforcement reformers value his emphasis on security alongside accountability. When a reporter asks if he seeks Officer Daniels' termination, Harrington's response surprises many. I seek transformation of the systems that produced his behavior and protected it. Individual accountability matters, but institutional change matters more. The mayor, recognizing political reality, establishes a police oversight commission with actual authority, subpoena power, disciplinary recommendation rights, and regular public reporting requirements. The commission's composition reflects the community's diversity, with seats specifically reserved for civil rights attorneys, former law enforcement, and community advocates. This commission isn't window dressing, the mayor announces. It has real teeth and clear mandate. Ensure policing that respects rights while maintaining public safety. 45 days after the incident, the City Council unanimously passes the Harrington Protocols, comprehensive reforms addressing warrant requirements, identification verification, response protocols for suspicious person calls, and mandatory reporting of all civilian interactions involving entry to private property. Officer Daniels' attorney releases a statement as these changes unfold. My client was set up to fail by inadequate training and departmental pressure to act aggressively. He should not bear sole responsibility for systemic failures. The statement inadvertently supports reformers' arguments, acknowledging the institutional problems while attempting to deflect individual accountability. Reform advocates immediately incorporate this admission into their calls for comprehensive change. Throughout this period, Harrington maintains his military duties while providing testimony to multiple investigations. He declines most interview requests, but accepts an invitation to address a joint training session of military personnel and local law enforcement. Two vital institutions, military and police, both require public trust to function effectively, he tells the assembled officers. That trust must be earned through accountability, professionalism, and equal application of protections. When either institution fails to uphold these standards, we all become less secure. As the police chief prepares to announce departmental reforms, Officer Daniels' attorney releases a statement. My client was set up to fail by inadequate training and departmental pressure to act aggressively. The disciplinary hearing room sits silent except for the soft whir of recording equipment. Due to unprecedented public interest, the proceedings stream live to City Hall's overflow rooms and local television. Officer Daniels sits rigidly beside his attorney, face impassive beneath the harsh institutional lighting. The review board chairperson, a retired judge with a reputation for impartiality, calls the hearing to order. This board convenes to determine whether Officer Michael Daniels violated departmental policies, procedures, and oath of office during the incident at 1478 Oakwood Drive. Daniels' attorney presents their defense strategy immediately. Officer Daniels followed his training and departmental expectations. He responded to a citizen's call about suspicious activity, observed behavior consistent with evidence concealment, and took action to secure potential evidence. The department's legal representative counters by methodically dismantling this narrative. Officer Daniels failed to verify property ownership before forced entry, information readily available through dispatch. He dismissed valid federal identification. He continued detention after confirmation of Colonel Harrington's identity by the Secretary of Defense himself. Body camera footage plays on large screens. The unedited video reveals moments not previously public. Daniels's dismissive comments about Harrington's credentials, the casual disregard for military honors found during the search, the continued detention even after verification calls. Police Academy trainers testify about proper protocols. Officers must verify residents' claims when possible, states the lead instructor. Valid government identification requires respectful investigation, not summary dismissal. These represent fundamental procedures taught in basic training. When questioned about why he ignored these protocols, Daniels' response reveals telling assumptions. The situation required immediate action. The subject's behavior appeared evasive, and the property seemed inconsistent with his profile. His profile? The chairperson inquires. His appearance, Daniels clarifies, then quickly amends. His casual attire and demeanor didn't match the property's status. Officer Rivera's testimony proves particularly damaging. Now reassigned to community outreach, he speaks with evident discomfort but clear conviction. Officer Daniels made the entry decision without attempting verification, Rivera states. When Colonel Harrington presented credentials, Daniels dismissed them without proper examination. When contradicting information emerged, he escalated rather than reassessed. The most revealing testimony comes from statistical analysis of Daniels's policing history. A data analyst presents findings from his 12-year career. 74% of his discretionary stops involved minorities in a district with 31% minority population. Use of force incidents showed similar disparities. Civilian complaints followed the pattern. These statistics don't prove intent, the analyst notes carefully, but they demonstrate consistent disparate outcomes across Officer Daniels' career. When Daniels finally testifies, his insistence on justification rather than acknowledgement seals his fate. I acted on information provided by a concerned citizen. I observed behavior consistent with evidence concealment. I secured a potential crime scene according to my training. And when presented with Colonel Harrington's Pentagon credentials, asks a board member, in my experience, criminals often possess sophisticated false identification. Did you take any steps to verify these supposedly false credentials? Daniels hesitates. The situation required immediate control before verification. The hearing's final witness is Colonel Harrington himself. He enters in civilian business attire, commanding the room with quiet authority. Rather than expressing anger, he presents a forensic analysis of each procedural failure and its consequences. Officer Daniels had multiple opportunities to correct his initial misjudgment, Harrington concludes. Each decision point offered the chance to verify information, respect constitutional boundaries, and adjust actions accordingly. Each time, he chose escalation over verification. The board's decision comes swiftly. Termination of employment, recommendation for criminal charges of official misconduct, and perhaps most significantly, department-wide review of training and accountability systems. As Daniels exits the hearing room, reporters crowd the hallway. Officer Daniels, do you have any response to the board's decision? Daniels stops, something shifting in his expression. The first crack in his certainty. I want to speak to Colonel Harrington. As Daniels leaves the hearing, a reporter asks if he has any comment. His unexpected response, I want to speak to Colonel Harrington. 6 months after the incident, Colonel Harrington stands at a podium in the Justice Department's main conference room. Now wearing the silver eagle of a full colonel, he addresses an unprecedented gathering. Police chiefs from major departments, military security officials, civil rights attorneys, and community advocates. Today marks the official launch of the Joint Task Force on Constitutional Policing and Security, Harrington announces, voice carrying the quiet authority that has made him an effective bridge between previously opposed stakeholders. This represents a new approach to ensuring both public safety and constitutional rights. Behind him, a digital display shows the task force's early accomplishments. Police departments in 37 cities have implemented the Harrington Protocols, comprehensive guidelines for verification before forced entry, response criteria for suspicious person calls, and mandatory documentation of all civilian encounters. These aren't just recommendations, Harrington continues. They're fundamental reforms with accountability mechanisms and measurable outcomes. Across the country, changes ripple through institutional structures. Police Academy cadets now undergo rigorous training on constitutional boundaries and implicit bias recognition. Veteran officers attend mandatory retraining. Body cameras operate with strict compliance requirements, and civilian oversight boards wield actual authority. The neighbor whose call initiated the incident completes court-mandated community service and bias education programs. More importantly, neighborhood associations nationwide adopt new reporting guidelines focusing on specific behaviors rather than subjective discomfort about who belongs. At the local level, Officer Rivera finds unexpected purpose in his reassignment to community policing. He speaks candidly to academy classes about the Harrington incident. I failed to intervene when I should have questioned a superior officer's judgment, he tells cadets. That failure nearly cost military lives and definitely violated a citizen's rights. Your responsibility isn't just to follow orders, it's to uphold constitutional principles. Congressional action provides institutional weight to these reforms. Bipartisan legislation establishes enhanced penalties for civil rights violations that compromise national security. Military personnel receive additional protections and reporting channels when experiencing discrimination in civilian settings. The police union initially resisted many changes, but has become an unexpected partner in implementation. The union president addresses the media outside headquarters. These reforms actually protect officers by providing clear guidelines, he explains. When expectations are explicit and training is comprehensive, officers can perform their duties with confidence and community support. Most significant is the cultural shift within departments. Chiefs implement early intervention systems identifying officers, showing problematic patterns before critical incidents occur. Anonymous reporting channels allow officers to flag concerning behavior without fear of retaliation. Promotion criteria now include demonstrated commitment to constitutional policing alongside traditional metrics. Harrington's approach, seeking systemic transformation rather than merely individual punishment, has proven remarkably effective. By focusing on institutional failures rather than villainizing all officers, he's created space for meaningful change that transcends political divides. As he concludes his presentation, an aide approaches with a message. Colonel, there's someone who's been requesting to meet with you for weeks. Former Officer Daniels. As Harrington reviews the new training manual his task force has created, his assistant announces an unexpected visitor, former Officer Daniels. 1 year after officers kicked down his door, Colonel Harrington sits in a quiet coffee shop across from Michael Daniels. No longer in uniform, Daniels looks smaller somehow, the authority of his position stripped away. Between them sits an untouched chessboard, neutral territory suggested by the mediator who arranged this meeting. I appreciate you agreeing to this, Colonel, Daniels begins, discomfort evident in his rigid posture. I know you had every reason to refuse. Harrington studies him, neither hostile nor particularly warm. I believe in addressing systems rather than individuals, Mr. Daniels, but systems are made of individuals capable of change. Daniels nods, eyes on the chess pieces. For years I told myself I was just following protocol, doing what I was trained to do. He looks up, meeting Harrington's gaze directly. It took losing everything to recognize that wasn't true. I saw what I expected to see that night. I made assumptions I'd been making my entire career. Assumptions with life-altering consequences for those on the receiving end, Harrington observes. Yes. Daniels accepts this without defensiveness. I can't undo what happened to you or to others before you, but I am trying to prevent it happening again. He explains his new role, working with police academy reform, using his experience as a cautionary lesson. Cadets hear his story firsthand, Learn about the cascade of biased decisions that led to his downfall and the institutional systems that enabled those decisions for years. It's not redemption, Daniels acknowledges, but it might be useful. Harrington considers this. Useful is what matters now. Their conversation shifts to the changes unfolding across institutions. Harrington describes the military's improved support systems for personnel experiencing discrimination in civilian settings. Daniels outlines the Academy's transformed approach to suspicious activity reports and constitutional boundaries. They don't become friends. That would be neither realistic nor necessary. But they find common ground in their commitment to preventing similar incidents. As they part, Daniels asks the question that brought him here. Why did you focus on changing systems rather than destroying me? You had every right to pursue maximum personal damages. Harrington stands, straightening his civilian jacket. Because my position gave me the resources to address the injustice systematically. Most people who experience what I did lack those resources. They can't call the Secretary of Defense. They don't have security cameras documenting every violation. Pursuing your destruction would have satisfied temporary anger while leaving the system intact for the next incident. Back in his neighborhood, Harrington finds transformed community relations. Neighbors who once called police now stop to chat when he retrieves his mail. The community has implemented thoughtful security protocols that address actual suspicious behavior rather than subjective discomfort about who belongs. At the Pentagon, Harrington's experience has catalyzed institutional change. Military personnel of color now have direct reporting channels for discrimination experienced in civilian settings. Remote command protocols include enhanced security measures and local authority liaison requirements. In his home office, rebuilt and upgraded, Harrington reviews applications for the task force's Community Advisory Board. The stack includes former officers, civil rights advocates, neighborhood organizers, diverse voices essential for sustainable reform. On his desk sits a framed quote that has become the task force's unofficial motto. Justice shouldn't require rank or resources. Dignity is everyone's right. If this story of justice and accountability resonated with you, make sure to hit that subscribe button on Beat Stories right now. We bring you the most compelling true stories of injustice confronted and systemic change achieved. Drop a like on this video to help our content reach others who need to hear these powerful narratives. Your engagement directly helps us continue producing quality content that shines a light on these critical issues. Remember, each subscription supports our mission to bring these important stories to light. Join the Beat Stories community today, where we believe that sharing these narratives is the first step toward creating lasting change.
Every time someone stands up, speaks out, or refuses to be erased, a new story is born. At Beat Stories, we archive that courage. Subscribe now and help us keep these moments alive, because the more we share them, the harder they are to ignore.